It's my pleasure to introduce Mr. Shinto Joseph. Mr. Joseph is currently the Director of Southeast Asia Operations at LDRA India, an affiliate of LDRA Limited UK. With over 26 years of experience, he has led initiatives in embedded software lifecycle solutions and critical safety and security industries. His visionary leadership has resulted in success of multiple teams and companies in embedded systems field. Passionate about mentoring innovation and advocating for technology regulation and public policy, Mr. Joseph has actively engaged with prominent organizations across various sectors, demonstrating his commitment to excellence and progress in technology and business. Today, we are honored to have Mr. Joseph as a guest speaker, and he will talk about role of airworthiness certification in creating a vibrant aerospace industry. So, without further ado, let's welcome Mr. Joseph.
Thank you for inviting me to handle this session. I have 12 minutes. I will try to put my views on this particular area. It's a very specialized area. Now, people might ask, why this topic itself, right? And simple answer is very simple. Whatever we build, if we cannot depend on it while flying, how do you fly it? Because we don't have a workshop in the air. So that is where the relevance of this topic of airworthiness certification. In cars, actually, you can stop on the road and repair it. So here, whenever you have an aircraft, whether civil or military or even unmanned or manned, we just need to make sure that it works as per the design, the way it is being developed, tested, manufactured, and even during its lifetime maintenance, MRO phase, upgrades, it should behave consistently. So that is where the whole objective of airworthiness certification. I will just run through with a couple of slides where I share my views on this area, how important is this particular issue when it comes to, especially from a self-reliance point of view. What is airworthiness? I just discussed with you. Simple terms, it is a fitness certificate for lifetime for an aircraft which is going to fly. How this is important in today's global product development ecosystem. Just take aerospace and defense as a sector. We have governments across the globe. We do have standards bodies, especially in aerospace domain. We have something called RTCA, the standard body which create all standards for aerospace sector. And then we have regulators. In US, we have the Federal Aviation Agency, the FAA. In Europe, we have the EASA. If you come to India, we have in civil space DGCA, Director General of Civil Aviation. In military, we only have a certification agency called CEMILAC, Center for Military Airworthiness Certification. They have regional center for military certification across the country. We do have professional bodies like aeronautical society is a classic example in aerospace domain in our country. We do have technology vendors. That's where actually companies like ours, LDRA, play a major role. We have manufacturers, again, large, small startups, service providers who provides various kind of services in this area. Could be design services, testing services, documentation services, maintenance services, and universities which provide the largest skill. This is a typical ecosystem for or any kind of high-tech product development. In aerospace, it is very important because aerospace, unlike in other industries, it is not a short life cycle industry. It's a pretty long, an aircraft, 30, 40 years, it flies. So having a healthy ecosystem, having own certification capability to make sure that your own aircraft fly in your sky with safety and security, it's as first criteria for self-reliance. Now, unfortunately, in our country, we don't have a civil aircraft certification capability. That's one of the reasons probably Indian companies are not able to produce civil systems in this country. So I wish we in fact, morning I was in one discussion in where this whole topic came up, how India could create a civil certification capability. In military, we do have a fantastic capability with the military aircraft systems. Probably it's time to merge both the capabilities and create a world-class, especially at a time when we are talking about exporting our defense equipments to other countries. People will ask us, how reliable is, how safe is your systems? It could be an onboard missile, it could be a fighter jet, it could be an onboard communication system, whatever you are talking about. Now, how for a typical line replaceable unit or even for an aircraft, how this aerospace safety risk assessment framework evolved. There is a practice called ARP, Aerospace Recommended Practice. There are a lot of standards under that, and you don't get confused about it. In simple language to understand it, I would divide various components in an aircraft: landing gear, flight control. These are all, high risk oriented, which I need to design at the highest safety risk level. I call it a level A system. A music system in my aircraft, it doesn't have any safety implication. Could have a security implication, but from safety angle, I don't care about it. So it is a level E system. Out of level 1 to 5, a landing gear or flight control is at level A, and a music system is at a level E. So based on this, my design considerations will completely change, and then I implement this ARP process in my entire life cycle of building a line replaceable unit. For an aircraft, today most of the aircraft follow a modular architecture. I bring it down to my software process, which follows a standard called DO-178B. Today it is DO-178C, whereas B came in 1992. After that, a lot of technologies, software practices came up. That's why the C came. We do have hardware practices, especially the FPGA people are using, and then the environmental testing as per DO-160. Go deeper numbers. Eventually, these standards fall under different category, including for cybersecurity. We have a latest amendment to DO-178C process. We do have multi-core people using in aircraft. There is a prescribed document which clearly says if you're using multi-core process, how you should be doing. The latest in this series is the phase, Future Airborne Capability Environment. It is something similar to the AutoSAR in automotive industry, where that helps you to create interoperable components. And even for using the new practices in the software industry, including a model-based engineering or an object-oriented technology or even formal methods, what type of tools you should be using, there are standards and appendixes already prescribed. Now, the overall, airworthiness framework in Indian context, it's all by the government, regulated, both civil and military. We have a lot of PSUs, we have a lot of DRDOs working in this space, supplying into military. Navy and Army also has got an aviation wing, and Air Force is the biggest consumer of defense aerospace equipments in India. There are a couple of them locally developed in Indian context, but most of the airframes, except LCA and the LH and a couple of other HAL is making, all of them are imported. But we do a lot of upgrades that requires, separate, certification and recertification of aircrafts. Now, in the Indian certification framework, as I told you, the organization is called CEMILAC, Center for Military Airworthiness Certification. CEMILAC follows a document called DDP March. Of course, there's a discussion about renaming this document itself. It's quite confusing. You might hear very soon about an Indian, aviation standard or whatever. It could come up at some point of time, like what other countries have done. So this document covers all aspects of anything flying in the world. It could be a UAV, it could be an air-to-air missile, it could be for export purpose, it could be for recertifying an aircraft, or even for an aircraft which is currently under service. So everything which is clearly prescribed documentation is available. It's a well-matured practice. Appreciate the defense scientists who made it. Now, the latest in this entry in this game is DRDO has come up with a software standard. It's called DRDO software standard. But then I am hearing of late this is going to be a guideline. So very soon it might become, instead of DSSD, it could be DGSD, DRDO guideline for software development. It is important, especially for Army and Navy projects. We don't have a prescribed guideline for developing software, even though some of them follow IEEE 12237. But I'm happy that, for a wider acceptance, especially in Army Naval projects, these standards would make a difference because it covers cybersecurity and many other aspects, modeling or reusable components, or even open source, all sort of issues, that's where people get into trouble. And if you look at certifying and anything on board, it's a complex process. Don't get, again, it's a technical terminology. Starting from your requirements to design to development and testing, it's all about majority of your time in aerospace industry, people spend for testing and certification. So this is where actually automation plays a major role. Companies like us, we add a lot of value in this space. We work with almost every tool vendors in this space. That will be people who are into requirements, design tools, developmental tools. That includes compilers, OSs, modeling tools. Every vendor in this market we work, including hardware vendors, those who are providing, board level solutions. We even work with the people who provide, IP cores to make sure that, we are able to integrate their firmware, whatever is running around these IP cores, and so that we can test it, produce live evidence that these systems are going to be safe to use, and these evidences need to be produced in front of certification authorities, and the tools also need to be qualified to use it. Now, as a company, this is what we do. As I told you, even though we provide these test tools, it doesn't by work itself. It has to be integrated in the ecosystem. Only by working with the ecosystem. And the biggest challenge in India, what we are seeing is lack of skills. We have a university program. We currently work with a couple of universities, linking them with our customers. We have a training center. We can provide training anywhere, any part of the world. My people even fly out of India. And that's the beauty that, of late, my guys are in demand. The people in other countries are also calling us, why don't you come and train us? And my argument is we need to build this indigenous capabilities, indigenous skills. Even for the tools, you will be surprised. We made a significant move. We are probably the first company in our industry from a global supply chain perspective. We re-engineered our tool for the Indian defense standard. So with that, this is our message. Thank you. I am within my time limits. You can keep my questions. Either you can send it to me directly, or you can put it in the chat box. Thank you once again.
Thank you, Mr. Joseph, for sharing your views about the role of airworthiness certification in creating a vibrant aerospace industry.